Okay, so like as Hector just mentioned, the point of this is for us to have a Q&A. So we've sent a lot of information out to you, different emails and contracts and compacts, and we just know there's probably things that either slipped by you or that we didn't address, and we wanted to give you an opportunity to ask those questions now. I can also review some of those items with you if you just want a refresher. Are there any questions that you have that are popping out to you?
Can you review the 7:45 start time and the arrival times of the various groups?
Yes, I'm happy to do that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So we're kind of looking at the same thing. So this is the updated reentry plan. And I'm going to scroll down here to a little chart that I created. Hold on one second. Down here. So we have here, so the arrival time for our kids who are hybrid in person, is there going to be a 7:45 or a 7:50 start time. So the odd grades are 7:45, the even grades are 7:50. If you have children who are in opposite grades, you go with the earlier start time. And then you don't have to like hold your other child back. They can enter at that time. The intention is just to kind of help manage the flow a little bit. Janina, did you have a more specific question about that, or does that answer what you were thinking?
That's great. Also, we're starting already at 7:45, so the people who are virtual will need to be on. Why will they need to be online at 7:45?
It's gonna be 8 for them.
Oh, it is. Okay.
It is, you know what, that's something initially, and I went back in this document, I edited it here. When you get down to this schedule part where I kind of just made a calendar to make it a little easier here. It had 7:45 for the virtual students, but then we realized that wasn't necessary. And in fact, it's better for the teachers to have those 15 minutes to kind of get the in-person kids settled in before the at-home kids log in and join them.
Okay, that makes sense. I did get an email from Beatrice, the teacher, saying that tomorrow starts at 7:45. I wasn't sure about that.
So I'm trying to remember now. I don't know if that was, if she wanted, the teacher wanted just to have a practice for the hybrid kids to do that, but was that to the whole class or just the hybrid kids? Do you know?
I thought it was
Sure.
the whole class, but I will see if there's something. I'll look and see.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why that happened. I can follow up. I can look into that and get back to you though.
Okay.
I know I actually, the teachers I spoke with were the K1 teachers, the first grade teachers, and we were talking about, they were trying to figure out like why it was 7:45 for the virtual kids, and then I explained to them that it actually wasn't, that was a mistake.
Okay, and I'm looking back and it says 8, so I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought I had seen 7:45 and I was.
Oh, good. Oh, I'm glad I'm glad it says 8. But there was definitely some confusion around that. But we just realized it makes much more sense to have the 8 for the virtual kids and 7:45 for in person to have the transition.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. Any questions? What other questions do you guys have? we had shared, the contract, the things on here just as reminders as far as using the health screening checklist on course, making sure that someone can pick your child up, updated contact information, making sure your child's on time. We're just really trying to have a staggered flow, making sure that your child is quarantining when necessary, practicing physical distancing during arrival and dismissal. And we definitely, with arrival and dismissal, really need your patience, especially the first couple of days of it. We have it all mapped out where the students will be, especially the K to 5 students. They'll be exiting their specific doors, and then there's dolphins painted on the sidewalk where they will stand. And then you, as parents and guardians, you can either be in the driveway or on the grassy areas, just kind of spread out. And then you signaling to the teacher will signal with you, and release your child to go home with you. Looking back at the other document, there's a couple of pictures that we have here. Let me go back up to that picture of the building right here, so you can see which doors the kids are going out of. And they'll be lining up in those areas. And older siblings are still allowed to go to the younger siblings to pick them up.
Will arrival be similar to how it's been in the past with cars looping around the driveway? Is that still going to be?
Yes. So
Yeah.
arrival will be the same, and the only difference is that they're going to only go through their assigned door, whereas in the past, sometimes the K1 kids would go through the 4-5 door. Different things like that. And then, but so now we're really going to make sure that everyone goes through their doors, and we're hoping that everyone's really diligent about being on time, so that we don't have, a bunch of kids coming through the main doors late, because that could also lead to some congestion issues. So the teachers are going to be practicing like new routines and procedures for lining up and spacing out as kids are dismissing. But we think arrival should feel pretty similar. We're going to have a couple extra staff members participating in arrival, because we are doing the temperature checks as they're walking in. So we'll have somebody kind of outside the door, guiding them in, the other person listening to the thermoscanner and guiding them heading to a class. And the people will stay out there till arrival, until that 8 o'clock mark, and then head inside. But we're hoping that it goes really smoothly. We will adjust and pivot as we learn, as things go along. We have, as far as the teacher who has the car loop duty, they're not going to be opening the car door. They'll be standing there to guide and direct. But knowing that people, want a little space, we're not going to be opening the car doors. Looking back here at the contract compact, you talked about the physical distancing during arrival and dismissal. The Chromebook or iPad, having that coming in fully charged is really important, and also having that power cord and headphones is really important. We're hoping that they can keep their charge, through the morning. We will have some extension cords if needed. But we're hoping that if they're fully charged, that there will be less complications.
How much?
Go ahead.
How much time do we anticipate them being on Zoom if they're in the classroom?
So we're going to be experimenting with that. We think in the younger grade, like for instance, K1, we're not anticipating they'll be on the Zoom that much. Like, because there's a couple different models that the teachers are experimenting with. It's the where the teacher is on the Zoom connecting with the kids who are at home, and that could be projected on the Promethean board. Um, and the kids in class are just like participating live, and not zoomed in themselves. So they won't be on their device Zoom. So they'll be interacting with the class, and they can interact with the kids who are at home through the teacher, through the teacher's device. That's what we're imagining is probably gonna be more popular and especially in the younger grades. Um, and then in the older grades, especially for our middle school, there we know we have we're wanting to do still a lot of collaboration between the students who are at home versus in person. So they're wanting to do more interaction. So in that case, they'll be on Zoom a bit more in order to collaborate with their peers. Um, and we just want to get a sense for what's is it effective enough to be participating as a class through the Promethean board or the individual Zoom with the cameras and the kids. One of the things that we know is that you can't have the audio on Zoom two in the same room without getting feedback. So there's some tricks around that, but that can be complicated. So we're going to have to navigate that to figure out what's going to work best. But for the most part, the teachers are experimenting the first couple of days and going to determine what's going to be the smoothest. Ideally, the less the kids who are in the classroom or on Zoom is going to be better for the younger grade levels in particular.
Yeah, thank you.
And strangely, when you go into breakout rooms, there aren't any audio issues. So that also is helpful. So there probably will be a lot of hybrid happening where it's like, okay, we're going to do some things as a whole class. You don't have to have your Zoom on at your tables in the room. But now, okay, we're going to do, a project. You're going to have a partner. So now you log in and then I'll throw you in a breakout room. So, there might be a lot of variations. And one of the things in the schedule, which I'm hoping that people are noticing, is that there is a gap, right? There is this gap from lunch from 12 o'clock until 1:30. And that's to give people time to, get home, have lunch, and then log back in. So we're really asking families to be mindful of having students log back in for that 1:30 to 2:30 time slot. We don't want to lose that time. Um, looking at the schedule, there's like nothing that we could trim out. So please do all that you can to make sure your children are logged back in for 1:30. Wednesdays, however, is the same as it always is. We also talking about, right now at this point in time, we are not eating at school. So there's not going to be any breakfast or lunch. Students are getting their own GBCS water bottle. We ask them to have that full at school. They can refill it if necessary, but we don't think that's going to probably be necessary that often. And on Mondays, students will have the week's worth of breakfast and lunch going home with them. And that's going to be set up outside. So going back to the picture I'd shared a moment ago about with the doors here, there will be a food service staff member outside those doors as well, with the boxes. The older students can carry those out on their own. There'll be a box of food and then a bag of milk. And the younger students, the parents might end up wanting to come over and grab that before the kids come out. And that'll just be once a week on Mondays. For students who are virtual, they can continue to come on Wednesdays to get the food. Going back to the mask wearing, we're also asking students to wear masks that fit properly and, you know, really want something that is not slipping. So I can talk, I can be expressive, and my mask is not, I'm not constantly having to fix it. And just want to make sure that it's adjusted properly. We did give out the GBCS mask earlier. They're going to get 2 additional GBCS masks, and they're going to, we have extra cloth masks if something, if the mask they wore to school that day gets dirty or there's a problem. We have those as well. Please, if there's a mask that your child prefers, make sure it's not the kind that has like a valve on it. So there should not be any ones that have valves or anything like any writing on the mask, like any like, you know, and it's going to be distracting, brand names, things like that. We don't want that. Just a plain mask or something that's not going to distract anybody. Okay. I don't know if you guys had noticed this in the update as well, but Rutgers is offering free COVID testing on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So as far as like avoiding school time, the Thursdays between 1 and 4, you have to make the appointments ahead of time. But that's right here in downtown New Brunswick. You just have to make the appointment ahead of time.
What about you've mentioned here that if siblings are sick or if someone in the household is sick, to not come to school. And what about, I don't know, say if someone in the household has exposure but isn't necessarily sick? I mean, how stringent is that going to be?
So, we looked at the CDC guidelines for situations like that. And, you're required to quarantine if you've had close contact with a positive exposure. If it's not a close, if there's a close contact of a family member, but you're not sure yet, they were waiting for their test results to come back, we ask you to err on the side of caution. But if it's, if there's not a close contact, and it's allergies, like, we don't want you, you don't have to, uh, we don't want to be too concerned, but we're generally going to err on the side of caution. And because your child can, continue to be present at school, participating virtually, we ask that you do that. I don't know. I'm not sure I answered your question properly, though. Is there a piece that I missed?
I mean, I guess err on the side of caution. There's not necessarily a CDC guideline about, like, say a student's parent had contact with somebody. I guess that's
So, yeah, the CDC is essentially saying, just to quarantine if you've had close contact with a positive person. So
right.
there's that window of time, we've already with teachers back for like 2 weeks, there's we're seeing the gray area already pop up where it's like, well, my significant other may have been exposed.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a gray area, right? And so we're, as a staff, erring on the side of caution, where it's like, well, the CDC is not requiring you to quarantine because it's not a confirmed case, all these different things, but because we have flexibility, we're going to go ahead and do that.
Okay.
And then once, and luckily we have a lot of testing that's readily available, so hopefully it won't be too long, when you're finding out what's going on, the results. So what are you hearing from your children? What are they excited about? What are they worried about? Any questions they may have or things you want to share?
Elise is excited to be back around other students. Amir, not so much. He would rather remain virtual. So that's about all that they've said about it so far.
Okay. Yeah, I think that a lot of kids are really excited, but then there's also that like I think we kind of get used to our current routines as well. So it's still an adjustment. Um, I hope when he comes that he's happy that he's here.
I'm sure he will be.
We've been talking like, the staff, it's like it's weird because it feels like the first week of school all over again. And so everyone's getting ready. So these last couple of days, there's just been like such a buzz as people are planning curriculum, but also like putting up bulletin boards. So they're really, really excited. Okay. Well, I'm happy to stick around, and if anything else pops up for you guys, I'm happy to answer those questions or listen to anything you want to share. But if you feel like all your questions have been answered, just want to thank you for coming and look forward to seeing your children on Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My kids say they have lots of questions but can't think of any. So
They'll think of it later when we're done, right?
answer them as we go along, I guess.
Yes, no problem.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Have a good night.